Bryana dog
All
back there
right.
barking.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know, right?
we
Are live.
Hey.
can
All
be.
right. Greetings, everyone who's catching us live. And for those of you that will catch us on the replay, I am Ber-Henda Williams, founder of Culture Shifters Unite. And I am joined tonight by an extraordinary panel of women, caregivers, mentors, community leaders, and advocates who are coming together to put together, I think, a very, very timely event for many of us who are, especially those of us who are in that sandwich generation. And so we've been hearing maybe that word move around our lexicon, sandwich generation, meaning that you're raising children, but you're also taking care of aging parents.
Mhm.
And what a place to be in. And so to level set on a very personal note, my sister and I recently buried our mom last year, who went through hospice and taking care of a father with dementia, and unfortunately had to deal with the fallout of lack of preparation,
Yeah.
and had to scramble to put things together financially in place to bury her, and to also scramble to put some things together in place for my dad's care, as dementia is a disease that is, yes, cognitive, but it's declining. It's a declining. So we don't always have these kinds of conversations. And while, yes, we knew the dementia ran in our family, to what extent we didn't know. So one hand, burying a parent, and then the other hand, in some ways, also losing a parent. So kind of losing two parents at one time, and then, okay, so navigating, yes, the mental and emotional and spiritual pieces of it, but also the very real financial pieces of it. And so Bryana will share more with you all on why this even inspired her to get into life insurance. But I think that each of these women, and Carina, very similar, she is one of, I believe it's 11 children. It's 11 of y'all.
15. 15.
15 children. So let me get it right. So she is one of 15 children, right? And so navigating a very real career in recovery, but also being a sister, being a daughter, being an attendee of a parent who also transitioned last year with dementia. And of course, the Jehan Crump Gibson Esquire,
Yes.
who is helping people to really get their stuff in order from the legal aspect, but also has a tender heart, I believe, and a candor about it. Even though these are not the sexiest conversations, she does put the humanity on it and creates a space of freedom and non-judgment, because again, these are not the sexiest conversations to be having. However, they're very real conversations. When you think about estate planning, you don't want to move into it while you're in the thick of it. So
Right.
we're sharing, I guess, cautionary tales
Yes. Yes.
about
Yep.
making these decisions, putting things in order. And my sister and I, neither one of us have children, so it's kind of like Golden Girls is already it's kind of like the way we have to think about
Yeah.
things. I don't want to be a burden on you. You don't want to be a burden on me. So how do we have a conversation now versus, again, in the fire of it, make these preparations. And so these three amazing women have an event called Get Your Stuff in Order, which is happening on Tuesday, July 15th. It is free. I'm going to say it again, for the recession chic. It is
Yes.
free,
Yes.
libre, gratis, for those, yes, to come and hear this wisdom, that maybe there are things about the life policy, end of life, estate planning, again, that you may not be aware of. Do you even need an estate? What's a will? What's in a will? Don't end up in probate. That's not where you want to be. How do you not get there? Navigating tender conversations, perhaps with siblings, and where there's blended families, right? So might have the same mom, different dad. Might have the same dad, different mom. Karina's one of 15, so whatever your nickname is amongst them, you're now an adult.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So how do we have these conversations and get everyone, because ultimately this is going to support everyone involved by making these, tough, tough, but fair and needed conversations. So, Bryana is a financial consultant and licensed insurance agent to discuss the real life financial planning. As I mentioned, Jehan Crump Gibson is an attorney and author of A Matter of Life and Death, that will be talking to you about your affairs so you stay out of probate. And of course, Wonder Woman over here, Carina, who is a wellness coach and activist and professional, all because she has navigated in very real ways, even personally, the health and mental health space, navigating the workspace, but also having to make sure that the affairs and stays in order. And definitely a near death experience brought her to some very stunning realities.
Yes.
So, ladies, I will again welcome everyone, welcome you all to this space, and we'll jump into this conversation. So, I want to know first and foremost, this question is for Jehan. How did you find your way into, specifically writing this book, A Matter of Life and Death? What inspired you to write the book, and what do you hope that readers get from the book, and what are you hoping people get out of attending the event?
Yeah, so this book, and I call it a labor of love, it was inspired by my experience of practicing in probate court over the last 16 years. So, being in probate court, dealing with families from all walks of life, I have seen everything that you can possibly imagine. I always laugh when people call the office, like, well, you won't believe this. And I'm like, try me. I guarantee you, I've seen it. But from a serious perspective, I've seen how probate proceedings tear families apart. Some folks who used to be close after probate, they're not even talking to each other. They can't even be in the same room as each other. They can't go to the bank together. They can only communicate through lawyers. They're draining down on what was left behind for them, fighting about things. So I've always done community education, seminars, workshops, things of that sort. And I always tell what I call scared straight stories, right? Taking complex information that's a little bit difficult, but packaging it in such a way that people can relate and understand. And folks have said over the year, you should write a book. And I would wave it off like, write no book. And then the acorn fell out of the tree and hit me in the head. I'm like, should write a book.
Mhm.
And so then came A Matter of Life and Death, which is essentially a collection of short stories. It's those scared straight stories that you can resonate with. The characters in the book are very real. Either we are them or we know them, they're in our family. So it tells a story. That's sort of like my, top few. Again, I've seen a lot of stuff over the years, but it tells a scary story. And then at the end of each chapter, it indicates what could have avoided this, right? And then it guides you to say a power of attorney, or it could have been a trust, or so and so should have done this. So that's what the book is about. And my hope is after people read it, they walk away understanding why it's so important to get your affairs in order. You feel empowered, you feel uneducated, you feel educated, you feel as though these concepts that are typically scary and that you shy away from, at least they're not any less scary, but you understand them and you get it. And so at the event on the 15th, which I'm very excited about, I hope we can have more dialogue, allow people to come, ask their questions, because this is not an area that comes second nature to people. I don't care what walk of life you are. We have engineers, doctors as clients, the people that you would think, and listen, if you don't do this, you don't know. And we don't expect you to. So we want you to come out, show up, and ask us questions so that you can be fully informed and govern yourself accordingly.
Absolutely. Right, right.
She
So,
has no idea how much that means after last week. So thank you, Jehan.
absolutely, Jehan. And I want to reiterate to people that the event is free. And so this is not gender specific. This is not class specific. This isn't education specific. This is for everyone.
Yes.
And again, this is not to, to shame anyone, but we see and recently I've the GoFundMe to help with burial costs or to help with hospital costs, because there's the other parts of things in paperwork about do they have a DNR? Do not resuscitate. There are a lot of acronyms that float through conversations.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an advocate or someone who has cultural humility to explain to you some of what the acronyms stand for, or having the conversation with your loved one about their desires, you don't want to wait until they're at that place where they're incapacitated and then you're making decisions. And then there's arguments between, as Jehan had mentioned, there's arguments between siblings about, well, mama said this, well, she told me this, well, they told me that. You have to get these things in writing. And then again, when we get to that point of the crowdsourcing, which I get for even the just the burial,
Yeah.
right? Like just the bare minimum. There are a lot of things and ways that you can avoid it, and it's not as expensive as you may think. So I'm going to have this next question pitched to Bryana, who is a financial consultant and a licensed life insurance agent, that talks about financial planning and life insurance. So we hear, or I've been hearing a lot more about the IRL. And if you could tell us what that acronym, and I probably said it wrong.
Right. It's okay. That's
why we're here.
That's what the professional is here for.
Right. The life insurance policies, and maybe from a funding standpoint, like where do they start? What should we be looking for? Can you take policies out on children? I mean, I know those are probably things that you'll go in more depth on July 15th, but if you can just give us some of your things that maybe have come up for you that are common, and maybe some misnomers.
Yeah. So, I got into life insurance last year, and what inspired me was due to mom's passing and her insurance lapsing. So we experienced firsthand what the impact is, or what the impact can be when you're not prepared financially. So that's what inspired me to get into life insurance. But as I was studying and I was learning about life insurance, and I just had a broad overview of what life insurance was, and I had my own perception. Even I'll say last year, I just kind of started seeing the value in life insurance myself. That's because the conversations weren't had in my household growing up. But the IUL specifically, and now with the IUL, it's a product, and it's not something that is eligible to everyone. You have to go through underwriting, health screens, and also convictions and criminal background. So there are some things that you have to screens that you have to go through to be eligible. But I feel like this is part of the education piece to make sure that you get locked in young, having these conversations and getting these policies for your children. So, I mean, it's not too late for us, and I'm in my 40s. I just got my IUL last year, and IUL is an Index Universal Life policy. I am advocating this because way more interest that grows on your traditional whole life policies. It's a part of the index. It's a part of the stock market. So even though it's part of the stock market, because it's a life insurance policy, it won't lose money. So it'll either be zero or it goes upward to like 11% interest rate. And these are things that I know I wasn't privy to, and I don't think a lot of people talk about. But imagine getting your child a policy, from birth, paying maybe about $50, $100 a month. You could set them up for life. They could be millionaires, later on in life, but you're setting them up properly. And again, it just goes back to having these conversations and knowing what options are available to you, but also ensuring that you could be eligible to get, or at least have your children be eligible to receive these policies. Because some people say that life insurance is discriminatory. I think a certain group of people may not necessarily pass the underwriting process because of how the system is set up. Talking about your health, diabetes is high in the Black community.
Yep.
Heart attack, stroke, these are kind of common illnesses that impact us as a community. But and we just happen to be at the I guess brunt of it when it comes to us trying to apply for these type of policies as we get older. So, but that goes,
because what you're hitting on, starting to hit on, my revolutionary side is starting to flare up about the system. but you are bringing up very valid points, Bryana, about, when we talk about discrimination based on hypertension, diabetes, blood pressure, things that also impact communities of color. So our Latino brothers and sisters, they're not too far. They're not too far behind. But what you're bringing up also too is for us to be paying attention to even just larger things like the voting process and being more active in our communities to make sure that we have access to fresh fruits and vegetables so that we can begin taking care of ourselves. Because you're so right, just even from just your standard medical insurance, the question asked your weight. And I noticed that since I lost weight, my premium isn't as high because I'm not considered old.
Exactly. And then people don't really talk about the opportunity. Okay, yeah, you may not necessarily be eligible for this product at this time, but it's still an opportunity for you to get, things a little bit more under control with your weight, your diet, you know, your glucose, your A1C levels. You have time. You can maybe wait another year or so, get on track, and then reapply again. I think people may get discouraged and have this perception thinking like, okay, I'm declined, so I'll just never, you know, be eligible for this in the future. And that's far from true. It's again, I guess, going back to taking accountability for one, and then two, seeing opportunity and positioning ourselves to seize the opportunity.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I know that, you know, especially former educator, worked in Title I schools. So flaming hot Cheetos and clear water were like a staple.
Yes. Yes.
Required is a rite of passage.
Yes.
Right. in the diet. So of course you're not thinking long term, but I love that you're bringing this up because these are also the kinds of conversations that you can have in the household. Like, let's do this as a family. Let's do this as, together. Let's, you know, maybe fast a day from clear fruit, or, you know, flaming hot. So maybe we don't have it on Thursday. What is it, like meatless Mondays? I hear some people, you know, do as a health practice to kind of start eating healthier. We'll do a meatless Monday just so that we can get more fruits and vegetables in our diet. And we do this as a family. So I guess, you know, the other thing we're talking about is also our family dynamics, our cultural, the ways that we learn within our communities, practices, just because
it gets deep. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It brings up a lot. And so this is why people like yourself, people like Jehan, people like Carina, because they look like, you know, our cousin, our sister from, you know, from around the way. I mean, I think it's important to have people in positions like you all have, because if not, we will not have advocates. We will not have people speaking up for us. I mean, I watched firsthand a fifth grader, you know, translate documents for her mother.
Yes.
And so it's like, you're a kid, but you're translating very real, binding, you know, documents, because there isn't an advocate here, you know, for you.
Yeah.
We have to be our own advocates. We have to be the ones that say, you know what, sis, let me take your hand here. Let me walk you through this. Because I think we also approach it like, well, what would I do if this was my mother, if this was my sister, if these were my nieces and nephews, right? So Carina, one of 15, ma'am. I mean, you've got an incredible story of health, of triumph, of working a real job in, you know, addiction. And I think I also want to level set even you know, your role in the recovery process, that we have family members. We don't often talk about it. It's not the sexiest conversation, but, you know, statistically speaking, it's like, you know, 1 in 4, 1 in 5, you know, have a family member that has struggled with substance abuse. And now we layer that with the early death, and maybe in some cases hospitalization,
Mental health
right?
issues.
Come on. And
Mental
we
health
know
issues.
that stuff gets in the bloodstream. And so,
Yeah.
you know, what do they call it? Infant fetal alcohol syndrome. So it gets passed down. So in every sense of the word, Carina, I have watched you be a circle breaker. Like, you've been breaking generational curses just left and right. How about, let's just talk about the fact you're still here.
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely.
Like, ma'am,
but you know, a hard head sometimes it take that. Y'all know, because all of y'all the same way. It might not take it as far as I did, but I'm here, and I must be here for a reason. So that's the reason why I really stress the importance of events like this. You got to get yourself in order. And when you are incapacitated and you sit in the room for 6 whole months trying to figure out what could I have done differently, you start laying the foundation in a totally different way. And what's crazy is I'm looking at all of y'all beautiful, educated women, and we are all still learning things. I used to sell life insurance. I didn't know anything about that life insurance policy. I don't have one. But it also peaked for me how important wellness is to even life insurance.
Yes.
And we're not tied into that. And like she's saying, if you get it for your child at an earlier age, the odds are they won't have the criminal record, the health issues, all these other things. But we aren't having those conversations. And that's why it's important for me to start having these events and having them free, because people who need the information don't always get it because it's out of reach. Either it costs too much, they don't have time, they have too much going on. So again, it's free. And if you got to bring your kids, bring your kids, okay?
Mhm.
Because you may not have a child, a caregiver. Now, Bryana, you're going to leave the doggy at home. I know that's your baby. My baby going to be at work in my office. So if you need to bring him, you can bring the dog. He'll be in the
Oh,
office.
I'm trying to get any opportunity I get, I'm out. Harry want to follow me wherever I go.
I know.
Henry want to follow me everywhere I go. That's our dad. So,
yes, so again, you bring your dad. You know what I'm saying? And these are the conversations we're not having. Just last week, we went out. We told Ber-Henda, bring your dad. We going to Bricks, bring your dad. Because you don't always have,
Yeah.
they still need care. And
Mhm.
if he was in there, that DJ was playing, we got to do what we got to do to make sure our people are okay. So
That's
for
so
those who want to come to the event, bring your loved ones, bring your kids, because everybody needs to get this information.
mhm.
And I'm speaking from this all happened to me. Jehan is my attorney. I am currently going through a process. Luckily, with not all 15 siblings, but with 6 of them.
Okay.
And you couldn't tell me 3 years ago that my oldest sibling would do what he did to our entire family. But again, we had conversations, but we didn't have the right conversations.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
People wrote stuff down and then people typed stuff up. And then when it came down to it, where's all that information? That's why it is so important to get it done properly. We buy Birkins, we buy red bottoms, we go on vacations. You better get your trust in order, okay? You better get your life insurance in order. You better make sure you have supplemental insurance because when I was off work for 6 months and I had short-term disability,
Yep.
I didn't have to worry about paying my bills.
Yep.
See, these are the conversations we aren't having because, like you said, they're not sexy. People think it's going to cost too much. And then when you run the numbers, they're like, oh, I can do that. So we need to make that happen. So this event on Tuesday, July 15th, is
At
all of that.
Mariners.
Y'all getting access to stuff that people pay big money for.
Yeah.
Jehan ain't cheap. Bryana gonna make some money, but they're doing this because they realize how important it is for our people to get this information and do what needs to be done for not just generational wealth, but I heard somebody talk about generational health. That is
Yeah.
so important to this process.
That's
Mhm.
right. And if
Mental
you don't have health, you don't have anything.
Exactly.
No.
It all starts in the mind.
Yep.
That's right. What are you doing with your consciousness?
Mhm.
So, ladies, I want to respect your time. Are there any final thoughts that you want to share with those who are listening, and some encouragement to come out to the event on the 15th? I mean, again, July 15th, Mariners Inn. We have the info is in link in bio. So wherever you're watching this from, we have the information there. Catch it on a replay. Tag a friend. I know you all got group chats. Everybody got a group chat. Please put this information into your group chat.
We only have 8 tickets left. There are only 8
Oh,
tickets
okay.
left. So please get on and get them. Somebody stopped me in the hall today at work, and I said, you better get on there. Because I'm going live, and they might all be gone in the next hour.
I just want to give kudos to Carina for putting this together.
Yes.
This and amongst other things, like Carina, I swear to Moses, like I don't know how you do it.
Because I take naps.
Never have known. Never have known.
I take naps. So not only will you get good information, you'll be able to buy Jehan's book. It's only $20. It's the best $20 you'll ever spend. It's a quick read. I read that book sitting down, eating something I shouldn't be eating because that's part of that wellness piece that don't nobody see me eat at work. But easy read. Half of the book is stories. The other half is documents. So you can understand what is needed. Bryana gonna come and gonna give y'all the full. I see Bryana out on these streets. She talking to people on the street. When I heard that brother say, I got a policy on my brother, and my brother got one on me, I was like, calling my sister like, girl, I need to get a policy on you.
Yeah. That's what I was telling Ber-Henda.
Yes.
All right, Wednesday.
I said, she's like, you sound so morbid. I'm like, it's the
not
No.
Wednesday. That is hilarious.
Wednesday. My sister,
Jay,
don't
Bryana
slip.
is
Oh,
Wednesday.
no.
Yes. Let me tell you something. That is how wealth is built.
Exactly.
Life insurance policies and land. That is how wealth is built. If you don't have those, don't even think your family. The bank account is not going to do it. Your investors are not always going to do it. Those are the ways you build wealth for your family.
Amen. Jehan, any final thoughts you got for us?
I guess I would just add, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what Carina said, bring whoever you need to bring with you, even if you don't have a sitter or a caregiver, but also don't be intimidated, right? So, like, we're talking now and it's very relaxed, and maybe it's piqued your interest, and you're like, oh, I might. You don't even have to come and ask questions, right? You can listen. There are going to be enough people around asking things that you might not feel comfortable with, and that's okay. If you're in the room to just receive this information, this free information, that Ber-Henda said, what did we say? Recession chic. There's so many things you said today that I have to actually adopt. I got to write a list down. I should have had a notepad. But don't either be intimidated, because you don't feel pressured. I got to show up and talk. You can just listen, and then come with an open mind. There's a lot of misinformation floating around out there, a lot of myths in our community because we heard something from Bubba. We were on TikTok and so started, and I just don't even get me started on the TikTok financial consultants and lawyers, because I just can't. But come to the actual licensed professionals, please, and let us have a conversation with you. But come with a clean slate, open mind, and do not be intimidated. It's going to be a kickback. As you said, you're going to feel like you're sitting there talking to your cousins, and this may arm you, or if you have your affairs in order, because some folks do, come to get the information for a family member. Come and get the book to pass to a family member. Come and get information from Bryana to pass to a family member, because it's our job. You know, when we cross over or get to a certain point, or we have certain information or knowledge, it's our duty to pass it along. So even if it's not for your benefit, if you feel like you have your stuff together, bring a friend, come for somebody else.
It's community.
Yep. And so I just want to leave everyone with this. Wait a minute, Brenda, did you go with your final thought?
No, because Henry interrupted. My point was because you know, I was letting my sister know that she needs to get one on me and I'll get one on her, because not only, you know, setting each other up properly, but more so for the mental health. Because we're super close. I know you're gonna be messed up. She runs her own business. I run my own business.
Yes.
You're not gonna want to be hustling when you grieving.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
so
that's so true.
So true. You know, so true.
That's something that we can control.
Yes,
very much so. And so I will definitely say this to anyone who's listening, especially on the replay. You know, most people may or may not know this, but my sister and I are preachers' kids, and so I would say that the church has to get back to some very basic functionality around just taking care of people. Like before you were out here, you know, treating salvation like a fraternity or sorority, we just kind of need to get back to just taking care of people, like the Beatitudes, feeding the hungry, taking care of the poor, you know, taking care of orphans. And I think conversations like this, this is my personal challenge to pastors out here. Bring this to your church. Bring this to, you know, maybe just before Bible study, to your women's group, to your women's ministry. Bring this even to your youth ministry, you know, bring this to your men's ministry. There's all kinds of ministries that I know that exist. So my Muslim brothers and sisters, my Jewish fam, you know, bring it to the synagogue, you know, let's bring this to mosque number 1 and 2. You know, you can put these ladies next to bean pies and we can have some real conversations. I'm being
all day.
I'm being very real, because beauty shops, where my barbers, my estheticians, my stylists, you know, I see the fruit man come through, you know, people coming through with the perfume, not putting anybody's business on blast, but I mean, if they're coming through too, what would it look like just for one Saturday or Friday where, you know, you've got a nice clientele, my nail techs, just to be having these conversations while your clients are getting serviced, because this is just that real. And you'll be turning around doing their hair, their nails at the church, doing the funeral service.
Sure will.
All day. Fast, right?
Yep.
Those very same clients, you're gonna hear them pour their hearts out to you, pastor, hairstylist, nail tech, because you know our techs are personal to us. They're gonna unload on you. Why not front load on them? Hey, you know, I got these professionals coming into the salon next Saturday, whether you're getting a service or not. I want y'all to come in so that you can hear what they have to say. So that's just my personal challenge to our business owners, our brick and mortar business owners, because in our community, we all we got. And if we wait on the government to come in and take care of us,
not an option.
Okay, wait to the hospital and getting the right advocate. I mean, good luck.
Good luck.
So let's take care of each other. So that's just my personal challenge. So all my brick and mortar business owners, shout out to Build Prosperous. Bring these ladies out to have some conversations. 7 Mile to Better Mile, Livernois Avenue of Fashion.
Girl, go on and say it. Go on and say it. Girl.
I mean, I just got to keep it real, friends. I have to.
100%. 100%.
This is just very, very, very real and very timely. And, our people perish for lack of knowledge. So before I start preaching, I'm going to bid y'all good night. And I want y'all to see everyone on July 15th for the low recession chic price of only free skin 99. You can be in this place and save yourself a headache, a heartache on top of grief with this valuable information, so you don't have to learn the hard way. All right. So I hope that we saved one less GoFundMe campaign for final expenses and burial just by this free knowledge. And tag someone on the replay if you're catching this. Tag somebody, repurpose it. I'm gonna throw this link into the group chat just so we know. To the circle that's coming tonight. Hey, listen, y'all got your affairs in order, because it's just that serious for us where we're at. So, ladies, Carina,
Ber-Henda, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Y'all have a great evening, and I will see y'all on the 15th.
All right, on the 15th.
All right. Bye.